All right, we are here with one of my favorite people in this country. I'm just gonna call him Swish. You know, there's not many people in the country, in the world, that just go by one word, one name. He's the CEO and co-founder of Surf. 200,000 users right now, is that right?
Yeah, close to 250 now. Yeah.
250?
250, yeah, it's growing quick.
And you guys are, explain to the audience what you're doing actually.
We compensate people for their data.
Yeah.
So for the last 10, 15 years since the internet began, really, you've been giving your data to Amazon or Facebook or Google for free. And in exchange, you've been getting like paid ads, right? And no one likes ads.
Totally.
So we thought, want to change the whole model, flip it on its head and say, if you want people's data, you have to pay for it. So you need to compensate people. We give people points. You can use them for items, gift cards, discounts. You can donate your points to charity. There's a bunch of stuff you can do, but you get value.
You know what? I love it so much because for so many years, we have just blatantly just given our data away for free.
Blindly.
Just not even knowing what we're doing.
No.
And at some point, people are going to realize all these companies gained trillion-dollar valuations.
Yep.
And they're going to ask themselves, what was my cut?
Exactly. Yep.
Right?
What was my cut? And more importantly, I mean, it's funny, in today's world, you're looking at GDPR in Europe, for example, or CCPA in California. These are the big privacy regulations.
Yeah.
We have Bill C-27 in Canada that's in the House of Commons right now. The underlying framework for all of these regulation is ask people for their permission. I'm like, that should have been done like 15 years ago. Why are we talking about permission right now?
Totally.
So what I love about Surf is that we're really pushing a new standard for privacy. I'm hoping that GDPR will become, you know, kind of what Surf is espousing for right now, which is not only asking people for their permission, but compensating people for their data. So we're really trying to push the envelope and say there needs to be a new standard for privacy here.
Well, it's amazing, man. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. I have a whole bunch of, a list of things I want to get to.
I love it.
Because, you know, you are one of these people that I follow and that is really into the culture. You understand what's happening with young people, with technology, with sports, with media, entertainment. Like, you are a man of the culture. And
Appreciate that.
and we're from a different generation.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know, if I was your age, and I didn't have kids, I think we would hang a lot more. I don't live in your city, but I think we would definitely hang.
We can hang too, man. I love your energy, by the way. You're like, you are a man of the culture as well. Like, you get it. So
Well,
I love
listen,
it.
I'm following you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And this man is you're liking the House of Highlights. You're following all the artists that I'm following. It's remarkable. So I think you have a really great perspective of what's happening with young people, with social, Web3, and a whole bunch of different things. So I want to like just pepper you with a whole bunch of
Let's do it.
questions.
Yeah.
And selfishly, like, I want to be able to just learn. That's why I'm here today. I want to extract your mind as much as possible.
Same here, man.
In the next
Same
hour.
here. I'm excited.
But before I get into all of that, I want to get your opinion because Elon just came out with something, Twitter Blue, where you pay $8 to get verified on Twitter. And, you know, many people are now getting their status symbols, getting their blue check marks. What's your opinion on this?
So there's two things. One, I'm not a big fan of Twitter, even before Elon bought them. I find Twitter to be overwhelming. It's too much happening, especially during the NFT Web3 craze. I always felt FOMO. I felt frustrated leaving Twitter. So I've shunned Twitter a little bit. I still have it right now. I've gone back to it maybe once a day, if you will. I get, my co-founder is obsessed about Twitter, so Anik always sends me stuff and I'll look at it. I looked at MKBHD today.
Yes.
And he tweeted something out talking about the Twitter blue verification and how it's actually different now. So there's going to be that blue check mark, but now there'll also be an official check mark that you get. So I think it's a little bit convoluted. I don't know if I like how they rolled it out. I love the idea, though, of getting people who are verified to pay. I don't think that's a problem. Like, I think if you are a celebrity, if you're an artist, if you're a professional and you're verified, I think paying is not a bad idea. It's not a bad monetization strategy, in my opinion. But letting anyone do it, I don't know about that, because there are a lot of people that I totally know could be fake or scammers that might get more legitimacy now because they're willing to open up their wallet.
Right.
But actually, MKBHD posted an update on the whole blue checkmark thing, and he said that it's gone now.
Yeah, literally. Oh, as of like an hour ago?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Breaking news, man. Coming in hot. Coming in hot. Producer coming in hot. Young Jamie. All right.
Well, then I take everything back.
No, I saw that too. Isn't it a great experiment though? Because, for the first time ever, in a digital world, we've been conditioned as a society to look at likes and followings and the blue check mark. It's a sign of status.
Yep.
And what Elon has done in less than a couple of weeks owning Twitter, he says, actually anybody can have status.
Yeah.
Anybody can have a blue check mark. And it's like the peasants have run over and they're in the castle now and they're running amok.
Yeah, I mean that's one approach. The other approach could have just been take verification out altogether, right? So I don't know if Elon's incentive as much was, let's equalize the playing field for people as much as let's make a lot of money. Because there was another option, which is just take verification all out. Everybody's an equal, and that could have been a model as well. But do I think it's a smart business move? Absolutely. I think if I was promoted to CEO of Twitter, I would look at verification and say, okay, look, these celebrities, these public professionals, I'd probably go higher than $8 as well. I'd do $30, $50 even per month.
Right, to keep their blue...
keep your blue check mark,
Now we're talking.
And then don't let everyone do it. Don't let everyone do it. There's still an application process, but if you want to get it, you need to be willing to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me, because you are verified on other platforms like Instagram, what does the blue check get? Like, what is that halo get? I don't have a blue check mark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it a couple of months with the book coming out. But
I feel like they're diminishing value now because I feel like everyone seems to be getting it. So back when I got it, back 3 or 4 years ago when I got it, I actually felt like it opened a lot of doors for me because like when you DM people, for example, it kind of come up near the top of their inbox.
Right.
You kind of reach people very easily. Definitely a lot of people assume a lot of credibility to you right away. I don't know if that's the case anymore. Yeah, I mean, having the blue check is nice. I think the biggest thing for me is I just never let it get in my head. Like, I think there was a time where I was like, oh, now that I have the blue check, I have to really monitor what I post. And now I just don't care. I post whatever I feel like on my stories, on my Instagram, whether it's me playing music, my F1 simulator, doing a talk, posting about politics. I'll do whatever I need to just convey my message and be authentic.
Yeah, so what do you think? Do you think it still holds value with young people? Because I would say that this is a sign of digital status in a way.
It is,
right?
It is. I think it still does. I think it still does. I think people, though, who've been on the platform for a while, especially if you live in the world, like you're in the world of social media, like your business is tied to it, people in it, you can kind of see through the facade a bit. I've seen people who are verified on Instagram that I'm like, I don't know. Like I look at their press, for example, and it's clearly press that they bought.
Right.
And who knows what happens behind Instagram. I know Elon even came out today or yesterday and he said a bunch of people, like employees, were charging $15,000 for verification on Twitter. And I bet that stuff happens. So
100%.
A lot of people have done that as well. And I think that's kind of put at least a little bit of a bad mark on the verification symbol when it comes to me personally and how I view it.
Yeah, listen, $15,000 for Checkmark. I actually think that, it's... Okay, let's say you are, you're an artist or you're creative.
Young thug.
You're trying to get, you're trying to get recognized. You're trying to, and now that the power is shifting to digital and the world is more digital, maybe that makes sense to make that trade-off. I actually don't think that that's a bad valuation. Maybe not Twitter. It depends on what you're. If you're a journalist, like I think on an Instagram or TikTok, it's not a bad valuation for Checkmark.
But here's the thing: I want people to be transparent.
No, of course.
Right. So that's the thing I like about Forbes, for example. Is like, there's a lot of stuff as well with Forbes in terms of how people get articles and everything. But one thing I like is if you are a contributor, it will tell you very clearly at the top by your name whether it's fee-based or whether it was just like you were selected to be an editor or a journalist because of your background. So for example, I write articles on Forbes, but I'm part of the Forbes Council program and we pay a yearly membership. So every time I share an article, it comes up as fee-based, which I like. It's transparent with readers to say, this is a writer. He doesn't have a journalist background or anything, but he paid into a program. We accepted him to the program, but he's part of this program that is fee-based. I want that for verification too. I want people to be verified who are verified based on their merit, based on their press, blah, blah, blah. And sure, if you have a paid model, that's fine, but maybe it says something. Maybe the symbol is a bit different. Maybe it's purple, not blue. I don't know. But that could be kind of cool to look at as well.
Okay. Well, on the topic of social media, what's your pulse in terms of the current state of social media? We have, we have TikTok, Instagram is, I don't know, maybe losing a little bit of value.
A little bit.
It seems like more and more people are spending their time on TikTok.
Yeah.
YouTube is still really, really popular. Where are you spending your attention? And where do you see the future?
So I definitely don't feel like I'm indicative of what Gen Zers are mainly doing. I don't spend a lot of time on TikTok. I monitor obviously what people do, but I don't spend most of my time on TikTok. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are the two platforms, right?
So why not TikTok?
So TikTok primarily because I felt like I came late to it. And I feel like even though I have a lot of content of me speaking, I'm lazy personally and I don't cut it up well. I think you do this really well, right? Like you speak a lot, you do your interviews, you have an amazing team to help you cut videos up and then post really high quality footage. I think I'm just lazy. Like I think I could get into TikTok tomorrow. I had a TEDx talk that dropped today, which was really nice.
Oh, wow.
I did another one on zero-party data and the future of consumer data. And I was looking at this, I'm like, it's a 12-minute talk. I can find so many nuggets in it that I'd like to share, but I'm just lazy. So I think eventually I'll get to it. Hopefully for 2023, it's a goal, repurpose my content for TikTok. But yeah, LinkedIn, I get it. I love writing. And Instagram, I just find it so much fun. I love stories.
Yeah.
And I post a story about anything really, as long, humor related, meme related, informative content. I just feel free on Instagram stories to just share whatever I want.
Yeah.
In whatever format I want.
And you were one of the first to really understand and leverage LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like LinkedIn is having like a renaissance again.
It is, again.
Yeah. Even though people on Twitter shit on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and people on LinkedIn shit on Twitter.
Oh, I haven't seen that in reverse.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is more positive, right? Because,
it is,
and it makes sense because your supervisors, your boss might be watching
it's more
LinkedIn,
professional
right?
oriented.
So you're more incentivized to like and be positive
but you can't put your Bored Ape as an avatar profile on LinkedIn. I mean, you can, but like typically people don't.
That's right. But you were early in understanding the LinkedIn sort of algorithm or whatever they had at the time. And now it's kind of coming back. What's the current state of LinkedIn in your mind?
There is a massive
engagement algorithm.
Massive white space. So there's 80 million monthly active users on LinkedIn right now in North America.
Yeah.
Out of which only 5% of people post on a weekly basis.
Wow.
5% of people, not even a daily basis, on a weekly basis.
Wow.
The number is like 40 times higher just daily on Instagram. Like in terms of that number. And so I look at that and I'm like, well, there's not a lot of people posting. A lot of people don't even know they can post on LinkedIn. They're still treating LinkedIn like a second resume. But they're definitely spending time on the platform, looking for a job, trying to find a promotion, networking with people. They're spending their time on LinkedIn. So I've been encouraging people not only to post, but if you don't even want to post, that's fine. Leave meaningful comments. I find that when people comment, they're always leaving like the fire emoji or the high five emoji, and it's not meaningful. Leave even a paragraph or 3 or 4 sentences on something you can relate to and share your opinion even through the comment section. And you'll see a lot of engagement through that as well.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, listen, so what did you do early on?
2015. I started
what did you do though?
There's a playbook I had, this domination plan that I created in first year of college.
And you dominated.
No, I realized that a lot of people weren't posting on LinkedIn. I saw on LinkedIn in 2015, the people mainly posting were people looking for a job or people promoting a pyramid scheme. There was no middle ground. And so I thought, why don't I share quality content that can relate to students? I want to talk about procrastination, not really knowing what I wanted to do in life, having to eat ramen and like really bad food and not really being healthy, not figuring out work-life balance. Like I wanted to talk about this in an open way. And then I wanted to interview people. So I interviewed a lot of people. I wrote an article series on LinkedIn, Unconventional, where I interviewed, Michael Hyatt. I interviewed Mark Cuban. I interviewed all of these people. I didn't even have to meet them sometimes. I just sent them questions and they answered it over email or over text. And I'd repurpose that, put it in an article and share it to my community. And as I started to grow a little bit more, because I was posting kind of once, twice, even sometimes a day, I was posting a high volume of content, I started doing meetups. And meetups is where things went bonkers. I started hosting meetups. My 49th meetup I'm hosting is on December 1st.
That's amazing.
And I'm hoping that on the 50th one, which we'll do in the new year, I really want to do something with LinkedIn at the LinkedIn New York office, because I started my first meetup in New York at Washington Square Park. Only 4 people came. But those meetups were incredible to take my online community, bring them offline, meet people who don't even really know me. But now when they meet me at an event, they go back to my content and they now engage with it even more. Because they're like, I know Swish, he knows me, I know his story, he's a cool guy. And they want to engage with me even more than just being a follower, being like a friend.
I love what you did, which is like, bridging the offline world
Yep.
to the online world, or the online world to the offline world. So I thought that's actually a brilliant move.
Yep.
Yeah, I just love that. So you know, I kind of want to chat a little bit about the creator economy, and in the sense that, you know, not everyone should be a creator, but the idea of like, because, you know, sometimes it gets people uncomfortable. I got to post. I don't know what to post on LinkedIn or other places.
Yep.
So the idea of comments is really brilliant.
Yep.
Do you have an opinion on the intersection between the creator economy and work? You know, I see a lot of brands today that are not really set up to sort of manage, I would say, stars within their organization or creators. What are you saying?
I spoke to a tobacco company about that recently.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months ago, spoke to a tobacco company and talked to them about letting their employees post on LinkedIn, you know, and they were like, oh, we're a bit afraid, you know, we're a tobacco company, don't know if the public sentiment is that great towards it, blah, blah, blah. And I told them, I mean, look, like at the end of the day, they don't have to post about the company. Just let them post about general themes. You know, we're going through so much. We just came out of a global pandemic. We're in a market downturn right now. Things are tough for a lot of families and people. Let them talk about doubts they have, anxieties, fears they have about their work, about where things are going in the world. Let them talk a little bit about how they work virtually. Let them take a photo of their work from home setup even and share that, telling people, here's how I managed working from home and also coming into the office once a week and why I like a hybrid setup. So I talked to them about it because I really feel like if I ever ran a company that had 500 people in it, like we're at 40 people right now, but imagine we get to 500 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people. I would love if every single person posted at least once a week. Can you imagine the amount of eyeballs on our brand, let alone on 100%. Our employees? It'd be incredible.
So what companies do you think are doing that well at
Burger King. Burger King is unbelievable. Okay. Burger King is fantastic because I think their Twitter account leads the charge.
Right.
You know, their Twitter account is so nonchalant. They're retweeting NBA content.
But the Burger King employees are...
the franchise owners are like taught that social media is important. Go and post about your franchise and get your employees to do that as well. I find that Clearco in Toronto, they do that well as well, right? Michelle has built this culture of really like getting her employees to talk about social media, talk about their lives openly, you know, and share a progress report each week of what happened in your week and what you learned from it. I love that. And they have a really good social director there, Leisha, who is incredible. You know, she started as an agency person, then moved over to Clearco, and she has this whole organizational process to get employees activated in a very simple and easy way. So I find organizations like that are doing it, but candidly, the vast majority are not good.
Agreed.
The vast majority are not good, you know, and I think there's so much more work that could be done there to just encourage people to not even post once a day, not even once a week, like whenever you feel like it, but here are some templates. Let me give you the general templates that you could share, a weekly reflection, interviewing another employee that just came in to, you know, tell their story to the world, interviewing your boss and supervisor to tell their story to the world, right? Like that type of content doesn't even require people to share their opinion. It's just spotlighting other people.
And you know what's interesting? I think that one of the best ways of getting ahead at work, in business, in your career, is to build your own brand equity, to build your own IP at the end of the day. And many people think that, oh, well, I'm not a good writer, I'm not a good video, I don't know audio, I don't know how to do all these different things. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, start with like a text message to your friend or a group of people or like a Slack message or you know, an email newsletter, something like put out your ideas in some sort of way.
In some medium.
Because that is the best way of starting to create your own sort of IP, your own brand equity. To me, that's the safest thing that you can build within an organization. And people are gonna know who you are and what you stand for and what your ideas are all about. So, you know, I just believe in that, and it's something that has not been taught, you know, in business school.
No, not at all. And I think one of the byproducts of also building your brand IP is your network. Right? And that makes you indispensable in some aspects, because I know people who've been hired into companies. They've done a great job of being at the epicenter of culture because they host events, they do a newsletter, they'll, you know, be kind of the social voice for the company in an unofficial way. And then they'll start to also build their network outside of that company. Right? So like, even if they lost their job, they could easily find another job because they have this incredible network that's willing to help them out. So,
but that comes from brand equity. To me,
it comes entirely from brand equity.
So to me, building brand equity is the safest job that you could build.
It's your safety net.
Absolutely.
Brand equity is your safety net.
And I think most people, they just don't understand that. You wrote a great book. Let's shout out the book.
The Young Entrepreneur.
Took 3 years to build.
3.5 years. Oh my God.
3.5 years.
3.5 years to write. And then we obviously had to go through the pandemic. And we were like, do we release it? Do we not? Do we release it? Do we not? We decided not to release it in the height of the pandemic. We released it in 2022. And even that early part of 2022, I had to go back and edit so many sections because I had predictions in the book like, oh, I think in the future people are mainly going to work from home.
Right.
I'm like, well, of course. I had to go back and like change that and be like, well, like we've seen in the pandemic, or even have a whole section dedicated to the pandemic. So, crazy process. I have so much respect for full-time writers now.
So I got a book coming out. It's called The Bold Ones.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So
December
excited.
6th.
Yeah.
But what advice would you have for young people? Because I took the book, The Young Entrepreneur, not only people starting companies or becoming a founder and creator, because to me but it's like, what are you doing inside an organization? What are you doing inside a company? Like, what do you think is the best advice for people? Because you've started so many things. What do you think is the best advice for young people?
No, I appreciate that. Because the book does talk not just about entrepreneurship, but personal branding, networking,
100%.
mental health, right? These kind of intangible things that you need to learn if you want to be a good operator. So I think number one, the most important thing that you could do if you're a young person is to have a solid network. And again, whenever I talk to people, they're like, oh, I always get the advice, find a mentor, but I don't really know how. Again, interviewing people was the number one thing I did in first and second year of college. It's probably the only good thing I did in college. I wasn't a very good student. And so I found that, whether it was interviewing people for an article I wrote or even one paragraph on LinkedIn with their headshot, or I even recorded a podcast in my second year. I recorded the podcast on GarageBand and then exported it to SoundCloud. Literally like the most raw and scrappy thing because I didn't have any audio production background and I didn't want to buy any expensive tool to shoot the podcast either. That's what I did. But I found that 99% of people love talking about themselves. Again, exhibit A. So play to that very simple aspect of human nature. Instead of asking people for coffee, which is what every other student will do, ask for an interview. 10, 15 minutes, let me interview you on the phone or in person, tell your story and build a relationship off value up front.
I love that.
So that's number one. And then number two, I tell students this all the time, don't rush into trying to figure out your passion. I think one of the biggest myths in life is that you have one singular passion in life, and that was definitely not true for me. I'm passionate about too many things sometimes, but my passions also evolve. Like what I was passionate about when I was 18 is very different now at 25, and it's probably going to be different at 30 and 35. So I really don't want to pigeonhole my life into one passion. And again, some people might say, hey, you're privileged now in order to be able to do that. I agree, but I was always like that. Even when I was 18, coming from a middle-class family and really not having great grades in university, I still felt like I was going to build a multi-hyphenate career. I wasn't necessarily going to pigeonhole my life to one passion because it was too hard to find, and I generally don't believe most people in life have only one singular purpose or passion.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that piece of advice. So then, one of the questions is, you're in a particular, so many people, they're in a particular field. They've been doing it for a number of years. But they want to do something else. They're not sure how to sort of
get to that
next passion. What do you recommend?
I was talking to somebody who was working a full-time job and wanted to start a business, and they were doing it on the side. And I told them the biggest thing you need to do is set benchmarks. I find that you're kind of looking at an uphill mountain, and you're obviously going to get scared because you're like, I'm already working a job. It's pretty comfortable. It provides me stability, and now here's this risky mountain I could jump up all the way to that looks really high. And so try at the beginning to set a benchmark, to make the mountain smaller, to make kind of the steps you take up a lot easier, and try to put those benchmarks ideally around what do I need to do in order to leave my full-time job. So is there a number, for example, that you need to hit, in terms of monthly income, for example, to cover your rent, to cover your food for that month? What's the minimum that you need to hit in order for you to say, okay, bye-bye full-time job, I'm going full-time into my business. Right? That's what you should think about. Set those benchmarks clearly. The second thing is, candidly, you're going to have to work overtime. And that's just something you need to do. If you're looking to figure things out, the worst thing you can do, candidly, is just spend 100%. Your evening on YouTube. Really. YouTube is fine. Reading books is fine. but go and actively try something. You know, I'm very passionate right now about surf, obviously, but I have a Formula One podcast coming out in the new year.
Okay.
Know? I have, like, the book obviously came out. I've been speaking a lot about it, but I'm also dabbling now in music. I bought a machine. I have Logic Pro. I've been playing music every night. I don't come from a musical background. I have no idea what music theory is about, but I have a teacher who teaches me weekly now. You know, I have the ability to play every single day. I try to, even if I don't feel like it, because I'm just trying to move forward.
Yep.
Every single day, that's what I go to bed feeling, is if I moved forward, if I moved the needle even a little bit towards things that I really wanted to do, I'll feel content.
I love that. And that's why you're a Renaissance man. That's why you've been able to do so many different things.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about the beginning,
right?
Which is like, how do I find my passion? How do I start? Blah, 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 which is great. Not many people talk about, like, when you're in, like, I would say this, like, hot zone. Mm-hmm. When you know that you have a window of opportunity, that you are in the moment. Like,
you can go anywhere.
Yeah, like, you're tapping in, you're in flow. You're tapping into something like, you're like Drake year 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, you're there. And like, that's what I'm feeling in kind of my career,
right?
Where I feel like I'm in this moment.
Right.
And I don't know if you felt like that, or you feel like that you're in that moment now that you're like, I need to capitalize, I need to double down, I need to reinvest, I need to bet on myself, because this moment is not going to come again. Have you felt that? Are you feeling that? And what do you do in that moment?
100%. I mean, I felt that in a few things, right? Number one, the whole idea around data, for example, and the way that privacy is moving. I mean, cookies going away next year. Like, I need to capitalize on this moment. You know, like, we're going to see a massive deprecation in cookies next year. We're going to see a massive change in the data that brands have access to. And as a company, we need to double down now to not only warn companies of that, but arm ourselves with the best dashboard possible so they can quickly say, well, cookies are gone, but thank God Surf is here, and we can pivot our marketing budget directly to using Surf. That's one. Formula One is having a moment. Right? Formula One is having a moment. The United States announced another race in Vegas that's coming up next year. You're now going to have 3 races in the US. You're probably going to have another one coming up in Canada soon. It's going to be one of the biggest sports, in my opinion, in North America in the next 5 years. Let's capitalize on that. There's not that many podcasts that are trying to get deeper.
Wait. Your podcast is specifically on F1.
It's on F1. We're interviewing drivers, we're interviewing mechanics and engineers, principals, even employees at various F1 teams to try to understand them as a person.
But you're talking about things that are happening from an external marketplace perspective, like trends that are happening. I'm saying for your career too, like when you feel like you're in the pocket.
And I'm in the, I mean, absolutely. Like, in my bad for, you know,
No, this is great too.
But I love that because, like, I feel, you know, in flow at times, but I also sometimes feel like I'm out of flow.
Okay.
You know, and so, like, right now, like, for example, right now at this very moment, I feel in flow in the sense of, like, I feel like I'm having a moment and I need to really just sit down and focus in on work because there's so many cool opportunities that are popping up that I know if I really do a good job in them, it could really set me up for, like, life, you know? But there are also times where I also look at kind of the opportunities that I have in front of me and I also say, like, you know, I'm sacrificing a lot in terms of, like, personal life, you know, in terms of, like, relationships, in terms of spending time with friends. Is that worth it? And I'm always kind of dabbling now between, like, not wanting to, you know, over leverage on the work side, but also wanting to make sure I maximize the opportunities that are in front of me.
Yeah.
It's a tough sacrifice to figure out.
You know, it's interesting. Like, I was just with my guys from Bad Films, Mo and Mazen, and we just literally had a half an hour conversation about people that are, you know, when do you let's look at an artist, for example. When do you make it? Like, what is that? When can you say that you make it? Is it when you can now fulfill your career doing what you're passionate about? That probably is, and of course, making it, there's a big spectrum. And then, in addition to making it, when do you double down and be like, this moment is not going to come again, and, like, how do I keep going? How do I keep reinventing? And
I think it comes down to really a gut feeling at the end of the day. Like, it's hard to describe. I do think, again, like you said, the definition for making it is so different for so many people. Like, I know.
What is it for you? What is it for you?
For me, honestly, is the ability to pursue any passion I want tomorrow. Like, that freedom. Like, if I
but if you can play music
Yeah.
And pursue it.
But when I say pursue it, I mean like I want to like one day go on tour. Like I want to produce an album professionally.
But when is the make? When do you say I made it? Is when you get compensated?
No. When I have the freedom to do it. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I come from a background where I have never had an entrepreneur in my family. My mom is a teacher. My dad is an engineer. My brother is a lawyer. My mom's entire family is in the military back in India. My dad's family is mainly in the trades and manufacturing business. I have never had an entrepreneur in my family. And so for me, literally to go to my relatives and say, by the way, I can pick any problem I want tomorrow and build a solution for it, they're like, wow, that's freedom. Wow. That is what we try to retire doing. Yeah. Is the ability to have enough money to be able to do whatever it is we want, whether it's I wanted to start a vineyard and create my own wine, or whether it's I wanted the ability to play golf and have my own tees and have my own golf gloves or whatever. Yeah. I'm being able to do that now. So that's why I really feel like there's a lot of things I haven't made it on, and those are more, I think, even on the personal side. Like I'm not a good cook. I don't know how to drive. Like even though I have a simulator, I literally cannot drive a proper road car. Yeah. There are a lot of things that I haven't figured out. But on the professional side, the one thing that I feel makes me always feel like, okay, I made it, is that like tomorrow, if I wanted to do something, like pursue a passion fully, I could do that. But I mean fully, like I could go all in on the F1 podcast and that's it, nothing else, and I'd be fine. Right. I'd be comfortable.
Right. No, I love that.
That's making it for me. Okay. What about you? What about for you?
To me, it's making it means that you are able to do what you love. Yep. And also not as a side job. Yep. Do it fully and get paid for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think you need. Yeah. I don't want to pretend. Like.
That's fair.
Listen, the politically correct answer is that when you made it is when you fulfilling your heart. You've done something that you love. And
but typically, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically when you are able to go fully into something and put your heart into it, I think the money comes. And I genuinely mean that in the right way, in the sense of even speaking. Like, I have a lisp. I wasn't a trained speaker. I went into debate in high school and university, but like I wasn't meant to be a professional speaker. Like I just wasn't. I don't have an appealing voice. I just genuinely don't think I have a voice that sounds like Adele. Right. Or even like I don't think I have a particularly like unique way of speaking really. But I genuinely feel like the reason I'm a good speaker is because I put my heart into it. Totally. I put so much time and effort thinking about what I want people to take away and the emotion I want them to feel. And I know you do that.
Listen, I am not a great speaker. Like I don't articulate that well. I say ums and
I'm not Barack Obama. I'm not eloquent. But we put our heart into it, and the money comes. I mean, like the demand, the attention comes because people feel like this person's actually in it for the right reasons.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, it is true, but I didn't feel like I made it in speaking until I saw the checks come in.
Fair enough.
And I was able to like support my family and build a business around it. Right? To me, not even a great business, like a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's when you make it. Yeah. And then of course there's a spectrum. Yeah. And now that you make it, you're like, okay, how do I keep on making it? And to me, it's like, that's why I wrote the book. It's like, how do you disrupt yourself? Right? How do you continue moving along even though the world is changing around you? How do you take different shots? It's funny because you came here and you were like, I asked you about the Drake album. And you're like, I wasn't a fan of the Honestly Nevermind. The
dance album.
And I feel like you need like a dance album in your life.
Sure, yeah.
Just to experiment, to explore, just to show the honeys that you're a well-traveled man. You know what I mean? And if Drake didn't travel and go to Ibiza and Turks and Caicos, he wouldn't have been able to create like Circo Loco, which is like it's a dance track. And it's got that techno kind of dance vibe to it, and everybody's vibing to it, and everybody was just shitting on Honestly Nevermind later. So you almost have to go through this process of continuously exploring and playing and seeing what else is out there. And to me, you have to do that. You have to keep moving.
That's also another piece of advice I give to young people a lot. It's eternal curiosity is a gift. I think one thing I feel lucky about is I still dream. I still dream.
Fuck, I love
You know?
that, man.
And I know people who
Of course you should. You're a young man.
But like in their 30s, I know people who are like, life is basically over. Like I'm 10 years away, probably 15 years away from retirement, and I'm gonna chill. And I'm like, that's fine. Like whatever makes you happy, do you. I'm not trying to impose my lifestyle on people. All I'm trying to say is, you gotta be dreaming. Like you gotta think, what more can I do? You know, you have a finite amount of time on this planet Earth. What more can I do? Like, and I know a lot of people who get to their 60s and 70s and they start regretting stuff, and that's the thing I do not want to do in life.
You know what?
I do not want to do. It scares the crap out of me. More than even dying is regret. I really feel like that would burn me up.
I'm like a decade older than you, and even more than that. I'm 38.
You don't look 38,
Okay,
by
thank
the way.
you, thank you. I'm just trying to like keep it. No, but a lot of my friends are turning 40.
Yeah.
You know, we have kids, multiple kids.
Yep.
And, you know, at some point, you ask, like, I've been having this real conversation with my friends.
Nice.
Which is, like, what are your dreams?
Yep.
What are your dreams right now? Mm-hmm. And their dreams are like, what are my kids' dreams, right?
I know. Yep.
They've now, like, given it up to their kids.
Yeah.
And to me, that's sad.
Yeah.
Because to me, we should always be having dreams. In fact,
always.
I want my kids to see that
Yep.
I still have dreams. Like
Yeah.
I'm still dreaming.
Yeah.
And because I want my kids to know that, oh, dad is an old man, but he's still dreaming. And he's going to continuously dream. And to me, that is what will give you that fire. That will, you know what I mean?
And it also shows kids the longevity of life, right? It shows to you that life doesn't end at 35 or 40 or 45. That like life is very long. Like I'm excited about my 30s. I'm actually genuinely excited to get into my 30s because like I actually feel like every year that goes by, I get a little bit more mature and smarter about certain things. And I also feel like I also started as a beginner typically in many things. And I love that. I'm always a beginner in something. You know, and that's what I love about my life right now is like, a surf, I feel like I'm an expert. You know, I genuinely feel like I know privacy and data like inside and out. I've lived in this world now for 4.5 years. I get it. And yeah, there are people who are way smarter than me for sure, but I get it. But I love then being able to go from like, 6 p.m., close my laptop, to then sitting on my machine, which is the musical instrument I use, and being like, oh my God, I'm a toddler. I'm a beginner in this. It just sparks my energy up again. And it makes you dream. It challenges you. It forces you almost to think, how can I be better at this? Everybody needs that. You need that competitive spark somewhere.
I think so, and I think like even when you have dreams, you feel like you're starting again, or you might have new dreams. And I love the idea of like starting again because again, you have that fire. Like I literally feel like I'm starting. Like there's so many things that I want to do that I'm just hungry. I'm still hungry.
I love it, man. And
I am so hungry.
Yeah, and one other thing I also tell people is like, imagine that at the age of 20, I could give you a button and I could say, hey, Shawn, click this button, and when you click it, I'll tell you exactly what you're doing at 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. I would never want to click a button like that, right? Because part of the beauty of life, I think, is the mystery around it. The fact that I could go from, hey, I want to be a lawyer, which I did actually when I was 18 and 19. I went to university thinking I wanted to be a lawyer, to ending up now at 25 being a dropout, but also having a business, really into Formula One, starting the podcast, music, whatever it is. I wouldn't have imagined my life to be this at the age of 18 and 19. And that's beautiful.
I love it.
Right? That is the beauty of life, I think, is the mystery that clouds it. And kind of, again, when you're in the clouds, what do? Well, you start roaming around and trying to figure out where to go. And a lot of people don't do that. They sit in the shadows, they sit in the clouds, and they feel content. And that's fine, again, for some people. But for some people who really want more from life, you just got to start moving. Figure out your way around.
You know, one of the things that I really love is this idea of being bold. I wrote this book called The Bold One. And so I want to know, like, what does being bold mean to you? I'm just curious.
I guess be defiant, be different.
Okay.
Yeah, like go against the grain, and that I think the biggest.
Has it helped you going against the grain?
It has. I got a 3.5 year head start to most people my age in my career. When I dropped out. How do you
3.5 years? How are you calculating?
Like in the sense of like, I mean, I technically dropped out in my second year, but I really dropped out in my first year. Like my second year, my GPA went from like a 3.6 to like a 2.3. And I went to 5 classes in my second year. I was clocked out. I was ready to go. So I tell people a lot that 3.5 years, I got this head start now to build my network, to start posting on social media, to think about business. Like, oh my God, I've been now building surf for 4.5 years. And before that I was building Dunk. And oh my God, every single year, if I could put into context what I've learned, I feel like I got like a triple MBA now.
Yeah.
You know, just from
absolutely.
like the 2 acquisitions we made, the money we raised, the hires that we made, the people that left our company because they didn't like our management style, they didn't like our culture, having to lead the company through a pandemic. I mean, no one can teach you that in a classroom typically. You know, you can learn some aspects of it, but you really have to do it. And I feel like that ability to get that head start taught me a lot. Again, though, I am pro-college, by the way. Like, I'm not anti-college by any means. But I just think for me at that time, going against the grain and really going against my family grain, because my entire family is so educated. My mom has a master's degree. My dad has a master's degree. My brother went to law school. It was different.
How do you, because being a South Asian in Canada, how do you deal with the 4 words that have absolutely crushed an entire generation, which is, what will people say? Yeah. What will people say? I've seen this crush every single generation.
Yeah,
I'm sure you heard it growing up.
What will people say, you know, like, is probably the biggest fear people have in life. I actually think so. You know, the biggest fear statistically among people is public speaking. It actually is. Public speaking is the biggest fear among people, but the underlying thesis behind that fear is what, when I go up and speak, will people think? What will people say? So for me, as again, a person who had gone against the grain a few times now, like whether it was dropping out, whether it was public speaking with a lisp, which is not, again, something most people would want to do. Like I used to be very, not shy, but very afraid of putting my hand up in class in grade 6 and 7 because I didn't want to speak because I'd be made fun of. And then to go into debate and then to go into public speaking, again, going against the grain, I think I conditioned myself to put myself in very uncomfortable positions and then just say, I trust in myself to figure it out.
But how did you convince your parents
to let me do that?
Because what will people say is really, you're trying to convince the people around you, your parents, your family, your friends, with, you know, and trying to battle against that. Like I've seen it ruin careers and creators and athletes.
Well, even marriage, for example.
Marriages, divorces. I've seen people trying to, you know,
make a bad marriage work because they're like, what will people say if you get divorced?
Man, caste, like, you know, religion. Like, oh, you can't marry this person because they're part of this religion. And then, you know.
Twofold. I mean, one, I genuinely think trust is a big thing here, right? So my mom actually in particular, because my parents were actually going through a divorce during that time, which actually might have been lucky for me because it was like, oh, well, there's bigger fish to fry. I guess I'll drop out now.
Right.
But my mom was like, you know what? I'll trust you. Go out for 1 year to New York. Figure it out, and if you can't be financially independent, you'll go back to school. I'm like, you know what, Mom? That's a fair deal. So I decided to create kind of an ultimatum, if you will, with her. I obviously was able to do fairly well in New York right away, and then was able to kind of stay out there and not have to go back to school. That was number one, is trust. And number two, and my mom actually tells me this a lot now, which I love that she's come around to it, is people's job is to say things. Just let them say things. You know, like, no matter what you do in life, people will say things. They will, right? Like, people are always looking to gossip on you. You're always looking to sometimes, I know people who've talked behind my back. I know people who've, you know, said negative things about me. And I genuinely think the common factor between all those people is that they don't actually know me.
Right.
They don't know me.
Right.
You know, the people who truly know me, who know my heart, who've interacted with me, who've met me multiple times, who are my friend, those people know who I actually am.
Yeah.
And those are the people then, when they say something, it does affect me. You know, and I'm still like, it's not to say like I'm like this person that's like, oh, who cares what people say, it doesn't get to me. I mean, obviously when people say something negative, it always gets to you. It's just like, how long do I linger with that thought? Now I don't linger with it that much.
Yeah, I think we need to embrace the fact that people will say stuff.
They will. It's natural.
And at the end of the day, I think it's good. Actually, I think that if people are talking about you, then you're doing something worthwhile. You know, we live in a world that's full of attention.
Attention-driven.
Okay? And if you're actually garnering some sort of attention, then in a positive way, then maybe you're doing something relevant.
And that's the biggest thing. What you said, positive way, that's entirely subjective, right? So that's based now around your values. And so for me, I know my values. I know what my mom, you know, taught me growing up. And I always view my actions as, am I going against my values? If I'm not, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Like, I really have a council, if you will, of like 3 people I genuinely care the most about. Right? Like my best friend, my brother, and my mom. And if I'm not letting them down, because I know that our value sets are very similar across the 4 of us, I'm fine with whatever decision I made.
Yeah. I'm going to close it out with a couple things. I have this belief that one individual can disrupt industries, that you are seeing this across different verticals. You're seeing it in media. You see somebody like Joe Rogan who has more influence than, even like the New York Times or CNN.
Yeah.
You have people like Jake Paul that are entering into a sport like boxing,
Yep.
not in the in the professional sense that we all know it, but still it is boxing and disrupting that particular industry.
Yep.
You have people, starting Substacks. You have people that are, in the beauty game. Just one person. What Kylie has done with
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast
with his burger chain that's taking down McDonald's. Hopefully,
he start Feastables and his virtual burgers and Mr. Beast burger. One person disrupting industries. I know you're an investor in FaZe Clan too, and there are a group of individuals coming together. So what do you think about individuals disrupting industries? Do you think this is a trend?
I think it's a trend. Obviously, individuals have a great team around them, for sure. But I definitely think it's totally fine to assume that industries going forward will be disrupted by certain individuals that are bold enough to take these industries on. And the founder of Robinhood, for example, I think is a great example, right? I mean, he looked at an archaic banking system and felt, well, we need to build something new for millennials and Gen Z that want an easier time banking and sending money from point A to point B. And he decided to go out and build it, right? And so a lot of VCs, one thing, I have a lot of negative things to say about VCs. I have a lot of positive things to say about VCs. Some of the positive things are that they do back individuals with charisma, with a clear vision of where they see the world and what they want the world to look like and what world they want to live in. That clarity they have is what really brings a lot of conviction to firms to say, I'm going to put a check behind this person because they know exactly what they want.
So, and I see you in this crop. When I mention these folks, the one differentiator they have is that they have a connection, they have affinity with their particular audience or their end users. And then you were doing the same with Surf, right? You are part of this class that are disrupting industries, and you're using your leverage, your network, your what you've done in what I would say the creator economy. You didn't call it the creator economy back then. You called it LinkedIn hacking. But you are part of this crowd. And so I fundamentally believe that over the next 10, 20, 30 years, that the biggest companies, the most disruptive companies will be founded by individuals. They always were individuals, but individuals that actually have presence, that we are interested in consuming and working with Surf because we trust you. We trust you. And we trust that you have a team that can put this together.
That's why I think influencer, like marketing, creator economy, all of this stuff is so exciting because when I look at someone like Mr. Beast, for example, getting offered $1 billion for all of his assets, it gets me excited. The fact that one individual, based on the connection they've built with their community, like you said, the trust their community has in them as a person, can now build an entire empire and disrupt any industry they want is incredible.
Totally. And you know what's wild? I talked to so many incumbent organizations talking about the idea of Mr. Beast and what he's doing in particular industries. And actually, I say, how many people in this room know who Mr. Beast is? And he's the biggest. He's the biggest YouTuber on the biggest platform on the planet. And you know how many? Like I'd say,
no one.
10% of the people, less than 10% of the people know. And that just shows how fragmented media is.
And it shows what brands will likely stay around in 30, 40 years.
Right.
Like JCPenney, I think, is such a great example. Like they went bankrupt 5-6 years ago. And again, it wasn't mainly because of that, but like it was because of attention. Like they just didn't pay attention to the attention economy. I look at Blockbuster as well. I mean, Blockbuster had such a great brand. I remember going to a Blockbuster 100%. Almost every day, literally to only get one movie, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. But I remember having such an affinity to that brand, and then for them not to realize that digital is the future and that they need to be digital first is ludicrous. Ludicrous, especially because Netflix was selling DVDs before as well.
Totally.
They were in that game with them. They were getting destroyed by Blockbuster. And then for them to figure out what is actually the future and partner with the right people there, that's what made them huge.
And this is why I like companies like New Balance. Like, dude, I was on Hypebeast, and they're just showcasing New Balance. Dude, I remember working for like a defunct shoe store 20 years ago. And we used to sell New Balances to like retired people.
And Fila. Oh my God.
Wait, is Fila back?
Fila's back, and Champion.
Champion, I know, but I don't know Fila's back.
Fila's a thing now because this whole, alternative movement has kicked off.
But I think what New Balance has done really well, they've done become
mainstream.
They've done some really great collaborations, right? And I think they understand the power of the individuals.
Yeah.
And the creator economy, and they're making those partnerships.
I still don't like their shoes though.
No, they look they're basic, but that's the thing.
I went to this Hypebeast store in Queen Street West in Toronto, and I went in, and literally, like you said, one whole section was New Balances. I'm like, what? Like, it's that popping now to wear a New Balance shoe? It is. I see people all the time wear it.
It's coming back, man.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
So, I think it's Kawhi Leonard.
You think so?
I think that was one of the best partnerships they did, for sure. I wish he did in Toronto.
Serious?
Easily one of the best partnerships they did.
Does Kawhi Leonard have an audience?
He doesn't, but the whole part of his appeal is that he doesn't have an audience. I don't know, like, the reason I really liked following him is because he just didn't care. He didn't post on social media, but he had such a funny kind of way of speaking and, like, I don't know, just his demeanor and everything. It was so, like, kind of fresh and different from what people were doing. I don't know.
Bro, that's you're right.
Yeah, we got to clip that. That's
Absolutely.
just Kawhi's fame or appeal needs to be like a whole segment that people explore.
That is so correct.
Yeah.
Kawhi doesn't give a fuck.
No, and
that's why New Balance.
The whole New Balance. I have a shirt, Fun Guy, the Fun Guy shirt. I mean,
you just blew my mind.
I don't know Kawhi. Kawhi's not a fun guy. I've never seen him do anything fun, but it's hilarious. We don't actually know who he is. That clouded mystery on him is so beautiful. Kawhi could be anyone for you.
That makes
could be anyone
sense,
for you,
man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so last question. I'm having too much fun with you.
Yeah.
So like looking forward, other than security and privacy, I'm talking about brand. What should they be looking at, focusing on? Is it creators? Is it the creator economy? What should they be focusing on?
So I think two things. One, definitely creators. Creators. I think having in-house creators is the next move. I really like that idea. I don't think influencer marketing is as much. I mean, it's been a trend since 2016, but I think what's cool now is can you hire creators that are starting to really become big and bring them in-house into your brand? Arm them with an office space, a laptop, a place to work creatively, collaborate with other influencers that you've brought in through your influencer marketing department, but you have 1 or 2 or 3 in-house creators that are churning out content for themselves personally, but also doing it for your corporate brand.
Yeah.
That's the future.
Love that.
Second thing, Web3. 100%. I love that Starbucks is getting early into it with the NFTs that they're putting out. I know Amazon did a partnership with Drop in Toronto, which is a rewards app. I love their NFT. Their NFT is you get the Drop Amazon NFT, you get 10% off all Amazon product for 1 year.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
For 1 year. I love that. The utility behind NFTs, when done correctly, can be incredible.
Man, why you bring up the NFT? I'm trying to end the conversation. And you just got me
I just dropped NFTs.
Man, you just dropped Web3 NFT. No, that's absolutely a space that I'm passionate about, that I'm completely bullish on. Even in an absolute bear market, I am totally bullish on it. I believe that Web3 NFTs are the future. And man, I could talk to you all day about this. But I just want to end off with this saying, man, like I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
I truly believe that you are somebody that young people, old people should be aspiring to, because you're constantly doing things. You're constantly unafraid to put yourself out there, to build companies. And I think Surf is going to be like, forget a million users. You guys are gonna get to 1 billion users.
Appreciate that.
And because that is the future.
That is the future.
The idea for me to get rewarded for my data that I've been giving away to these companies